Welcome to Make Up or Break Up with Judith Jameson of JudithJameson.org, which I like to remind everyone is it's simple. It's both the website and the Facebook page. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
You go to the Facebook page for past episodes of Make Up or Break Up, and you go to the website, JudithJameson.org, to get contact information on services and schedules of things coming up, and get all kinds of stuff up there.
That's right. All kinds of exciting things.
And that's a good way. That's a good way of first contact, right? Drop you a note.
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me really is just go to my website and then email me off of that. Each page on the website has my contact information. It makes it easier for me. Makes it easier for you. You don't have to remember. Oh, is it AOL? Is it Gmail? What is it? So I always tell people, it's funny because it's funny that you asked that.
But the email address is on the bottom of the screen, so you can use that one too.
Right. But it's funny that you said that because somebody recently said, hey, I was giving your card out to somebody, and I chuckled because your email's not on there. Is that on purpose?
Yeah.
Or was it a mistake? I said, no, it's on purpose.
Yeah, because that would be considered interesting in 2018, right?
Right. Because he's kind of thinking, do you not want to be like, I'm like, I just want them to go to the website.
How many people, now you do it for business, and I'm guessing most people for business do it. How many people do you know, clients or people do you know, have personal business cards?
Not that many.
Yeah.
Not that many. I think sometimes.
I suppose I could do it with the production company, but a lot of times I get people talking, they want contact information, and it's just easier to hand them a card than, can I write something down, or that type of thing.
Well, it's funny because sometimes I see people hand out a personal one, like right after college or whatever. But like for you, you're involved with a couple of different things.
Yeah.
So you could have a business
100
card.
different things, yeah.
100 different things.
Yeah.
So you could have a business card that has like 4 bullets on the back.
Yeah.
And then just come up with some pithy title on the front with your name. Like,
I'll do a production company business card. And put all the logos on the back. Put Judith Jameson, divorce coach and advocate, on the back.
Yeah, that would really mess with them. They'd be like, what? What does that have to do with... You're like, well, ask me and I'll tell you,
That's my favorite part of conversations with new people. Like, I produce and host about 14 different shows. Really?
Right.
Like all sports? No. I got a ghost hunter. I got a divorce coach. I got a... What?
That's right. Although, you could have a play on words with ghost hunter. It could somehow go with divorce stuff. So
yeah.
Ghost hunter, meaning you're trying to, find hidden money, the elusive money that's gone missing.
No, I still like, you haven't grasped on the concept yet. I still like, we talked about, I was explaining this to somebody the other day, and I said, well, she's like, you have a wedding planner? She's a divorce planner. She kind of coordinates all the things you need to know and puts you in front of people to get it pulled off.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
It's good. You're a divorce planner.
Right. I could use that in some of my
put a positive spin on it.
Some of my meetings.
Yep.
People are like, because what happens is sometimes people, they sort of remember that I mentioned paralegal.
Right.
And so then they'll say to me, so you're a mediator? Or you're a lawyer? I'm like, no, I'm a paralegal, which means I understand just enough to not give legal advice, and I'm not a mediator. But I use mediators sometimes.
But you can pair off a lot of the simple stuff that a lawyer would charge you $300 an hour to answer.
Right.
If you could get a return call.
Right.
But, a wedding planner put you in with the DJ of the band or with the hall and put you in front of people who can help you out and then make sure it all comes together. Right?
Well,
that's kind of what you do.
Guess what? When someone dies, you go to a funeral director.
Yeah, see. That's a negative connotation.
No, but divorce has a negative connotation.
That's why I'm trying to flip it around to a wedding planner, something positive.
Something positive. I'm a planner, right? But coordinator or director or something, it implies that you're overseeing different things, which is key. Because
I keep going back to that. There was a local Facebook group, and there's a woman on, I need a good divorce lawyer now.
Oh, right.
Right?
My eyes are all messed up.
Isn't that where most people start? It's like, oh my God, I got to find a good divorce lawyer. Oh,
right.
Well, okay, but and you do, but you may not be approaching it in the right sequence.
Right. So you do and you don't. The thing that I love, the thing that I like most about what I do, which I really created on my own, is that we've talked about this a lot before. People are in in that case, you're either in a fog and you're stunned by the fact that your spouse just came in the night before and said, I can't do this anymore. And you're like, what? work till 8 o'clock. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
And what they're really saying is, no, do this. That's so common. That's how
Right.
so many, insensitive, uncaring, checked out spouses do it.
Mm-hmm.
They come home at the end of the night, and that's what they say. And it's so hurtful because you really don't know that that's what they're talking about.
Right.
When they say, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And then you feel like even more of a doofus when you sort of start to piece it together, but you're in a fog.
Yeah.
But the thing that,
So you're either there or something just blew up.
or something just blew up.
Yeah.
And the harder one to stop the train on is the one that just blew up.
Right.
Because a person will just catapult into, panic.
Yeah, it's a firefight. So
Right.
I need a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounded like that person was sort of in that firefighter
Right.
mode online.
Yep.
Right? Because what's interesting about
Think
that,
about the space you have
Yeah.
to be in to go to a Facebook group and say,
that's what I was going to say.
I mean, yeah, think about what has to be going on. You have
Right.
to be fairly desperate.
Right? Can everybody see my blue eyeshadow?
Happy 4th of July.
Probably can't. I'm very proud of myself. I have blue eyeshadow. I have red lipstick on, which I don't like wearing. And I have on the scarf. I have on. I
But you're
can see myself.
patriotic today.
Right. And I have red, blue eyeliner. Red eyeliner. That would have been good. But I think, and this is really good advice for any of you that are watching, if you have a friend that's in an unhappy relationship, that's the time to come alongside them before the other person does something or before they do something, and then they kind of throw themselves into panic mode, like, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to throw this person out, and I'm going to, you need to have a plan. And so when you say wedding planner or divorce planner, yeah, and it could even be relationship planner, right?
Because most of the people you go to for a divorce, whether it be a financial guy or a lawyer, certainly, they have areas of expertise, and they don't get into all the areas that you need.
Right.
You need someone to fill in those spots.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is when you go in and you just randomly meet with an attorney that someone recommends, what happens is you're either in the stunned mode, so you just go along with anything.
Right.
Because you don't know any better and you're not well.
Right.
Or you're in panic mode and you're not well either. Because somebody in panic mode, I mean, we all know the mistakes we make when we're panicking.
Right.
Like when even if you use the example of we go outside and we lock ourselves up.
Yeah.
What was that? Did you hear that?
Oh, that's the EAS test from the studio next door.
Oh, cool.
So either Rushers decided on July 3rd they're coming, or
There you go, right?
or it's a test.
Yeah. So what I tell people is either one is dangerous, because when you put yourself in front of an attorney, you may hire someone because the panicked person feels desperate. The person that's numb and stunned and doesn't know what to do is looking to that attorney, making the assumption that because they're an attorney,
Right.
and presumably do some family law,
Yeah.
the assumption is that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
The assumption is they know what they're doing
And they do it well.
interpersonally.
right,
And that's rarely the case.
Right,
But
right.
it's certainly, I mean, they probably know what they're doing in the court.
right.
But in terms of holding your hand and getting you through the emotional aspects of this, no.
Right. So when I'm with a client, when I'm with them and I've brought them to either, well, it has to be a combination of the attorneys that I work with that I trust and who actually care about their clients and don't charge for every single phone call. I mean, if someone makes a phone call for 2 minutes to say, I'm stuck on, something that you asked me about,
Yep.
and I may not know the answer, I'll say, you need to call your attorney on that. You shouldn't be charged, a decent attorney isn't going to charge you $25 because you just said, I can't remember what you said.
Right.
But the majority of attorneys will charge for that because technically they can.
Yep.
They don't want to be paid for working 4 hours a day. They want to be paid for working 7 or 8 hours a day. So the only way they can do that is every single time they do something in the office, or do something outside the office that has anything to do with a client. Even if they were looking up some case law at night,
Right.
for half an hour just to refresh their memory of something that happened, they can charge their client. But when I'm in there with my clients, so when someone is in that fog, I can ask the questions. I can direct the conversation. I can make sure that certain things are covered. I can ask attorneys all sorts of questions, like their billing structure and
Right.
do they charge for this? What do they charge for that? How much do you charge an hour? I cannot tell you how many clients I've had in the last 4 years who don't, to this day, know what their hourly rate was for their attorney.
Yeah.
Then the other pet peeve of
They
mine
paid a
is...
retainer and they got some back, or they had to pay more, or whatever it was, and they don't know what the
They usually get more back.
Yeah.
Because some attorneys just, they just rack up the bills because they can. Because
they work to the retainer.
Their best client is the one that is clueless and doesn't ask them any questions and doesn't monitor their bills. And their other best client, the two spectrums, is the crazy person who calls them every 3 times a day. My husband did this. My wife did this. My husband didn't bring the kid back until 5:30.
Yeah.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching, right.
Oh, well, what else happened? Half an hour later, you've got a $150 to $175 bill because you called and complained about your husband.
I like how you go in with them, both in court, but in those meetings that you talked about. Because how many times have you taken a parent or you're caretaking for somebody and they go to the doctor and they come out of the office and they have no idea what the hell went on?
That happens all the time.
Because either they can't keep up with the conversation or they're emotionally distressed, so they're not keeping up with the conversation. Right. So you're there to do that. You're going to pick up a lot of these. So what did he say when we talked about that? What am I supposed to be doing?
Right. And that's such a good example because I actually go to some of the doctor's appointments at Leahy Clinic, Leahy Hospital, actually, in Burlington with my mom. And there have been some times where I don't fully understand why she's there, but she won't let me go in with her. She's so independent. Yeah. So I have to keep a little notebook and just write down what she said she's there for, what is it that they may be concerned with, like with blood pressure or whatever. And then afterward, well, what did she say? What did she think? And so sometimes it's like, well, don't come back for 6 months. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I have to write that down because on this day, that supposedly that's what the doctor said. So at this juncture, we just go by what she says before an appointment and after an appointment. Right. But you're right, because I have a couple of friends who go into appointments with their parents, and the parents aren't asking any questions. Right. And the child will be saying,
"That's a good point." Not even know what questions to ask. You're just trying to absorb as much as you can.
Right. Yeah. And so when my friends are going into the doctors with their parents, they're saying, "How many pills again are they taking? Is it just one pill a day? Are we just adding one more? Sometimes they have to take a new medicine. What are the possible reactions?" Because a lot of times it makes sense when you think of a tiny little pill still has chemicals in it. Right. A lot of times it messes up your brain. Like you get sort of like you can be dizzy, you can be forgetful.
But you know what happens with the previous generation, and I'm guessing it happens with people going to a divorce lawyer for the first time, is that they defer to the expert. And whatever the expert says, they take as gospel. And sometimes having someone there to ask the right question and kind of question it. Well, do you know she's taking this because I'm worried about a cross reaction? They go, "Oh, no, I didn't know. She didn't tell me." Right. And you are able to ask the questions. Right. Do you know that her husband owns a small business or... Right. That type of thing.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, when you're in that fog, especially, you're not thinking about it. Right. When you're upset about the fact that you're in this appointment. So whether you're at the doctor's or you're upset that you have to be with an attorney. Yeah.
And you heard $3,000 retainer, and it was nothing but a buzz from there. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what happens is, with an attorney, they're a lot like a doctor. So you go in and you've got a problem. So the doctor starts to ask some questions. So, how long have you had this? So like a marriage, how long have you had this? Like, how long have you had this problem? Very basic things that they start with so they can get a little bit of a picture. What's the date of the marriage? Where did you get married? Right. But they're asking very basic things where if you were going to give a quick snapshot of somebody, they could actually describe it. Right. So when I'm in a meeting, I'll say, tell them about the argument that you had last week. Tell the attorney, I think it's important that you tell the attorney about the comment that your daughter made when she went clothes shopping for back to school with Daddy, and Daddy was in the changing room with her. Yeah. Which has happened before. Yeah. Yep. And these are the things that somebody that's upset about the fact that they're in a divorce situation or possible divorce, they're not thinking of all those things.
Right. The attorney's not familiar enough with the client to ask the right questions.
They're not.
The client is a little too worked up to present the right information, so you perform that. Right. Help get everybody together.
Right. The other thing is, it's really important when I'm in those meetings, I'm describing the emotional landscape of the household, because a lot of times, think about it, people don't want to admit. So, so if you're at the doctor, you don't want to admit that you've had a stomach ache for a year and a half.
Yep.
Because you already know what the doctor's going to say. Well, what the heck? Why'd you take a year and a half to come in here?
Right.
It's the same thing with divorce. People are, they shouldn't, no, there's no such thing as shouldn't. We know, you and I wouldn't be judging someone because we've been through it before, but a lot of people are judgmental about whatever you say about your issues.
Right.
And some friends might have already said to somebody, well, it's not that bad for you. It doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah.
Well, so what if you have a fight every now and then? That's normal. Everybody does.
Yep.
What they don't know is, like, how bad that fight was. So part of what I'm doing is gently saying to my client, I think it's important that you explain how the home life has been for the last few years.
Right.
And they may even forget to mention that a husband or wife had an affair 10 years ago. And I'll say, I think it's important for you to tell them, because I know you're going to be a little bit embarrassed about it, but I think it's important that you share about the infidelity that occurred in your marriage. It is shameful for a lot of people. They feel terrible that their spouse would even cheat on them.
Right.
Like, am I not good enough? Am I not pretty enough?
That's a wound that doesn't close.
Right?
Yeah.
That's just, there's so many questions that we ask ourselves. So in the broken person's state of mind, especially if they're not the angry, panicky, upset one over here, the one that's just like, I'm just devastated. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't where I saw my life happening. And maybe even their own personality, to be honest, they're not fighters.
Right. Yeah.
And so I always say I'm a relationship coach and a divorce coach, because relationship coach sounds a little more positive.
Yep.
So I help people fix a relationship, or I help them process out of a relationship. Ooh, good one, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Process out.
We get really good pithy little lines in here when we're on the show. But the importance is, when I'm helping somebody navigate, my tagline under my title on emails and whatnot is always your advocate. So I used to say I'm a divorce coach and an advocate, which, people don't fully understand it, but it sounds good. So now I always say always your advocate. It's its own line with an exclamation point on it. People get that. Mm-hmm. Because even if they're just like, oh, her name is Judith, and they're in a fog, they remember that one line of 3 words, because it says to them, she's on my side.
Right.
So when I'm in a meeting, whether it's with a man or a woman, I'm prompting them and prodding them. And sometimes I'll say something. I'll say I might say, like, what Bill is nervous to tell you. And I'll say to them, I'm a coach, so I'm not going to sit back like a therapist and say, tell me how you feel about it, or you can talk about it when you're ready. We don't have time for that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. With a coach, I'm telling you
that's what your mother does. That's what your best friend does.
Right.
It's not what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
No, because I'm just gonna you've got to be very honest, especially when you're meeting with an attorney, and they have to get a feel for things. So I'll say, for example, well, it's important for you to know that Bill's wife is very volatile. She's unpredictable. The only predictable thing is she's unpredictable. So some days things are pretty smooth, but if something upsets her with her daughter, or she's had a bad day at her job,
right,
or she just thinks that, it's another day that Bill didn't fix the picket fence, which, okay, she's upset about it, and the dog might get out, whatever. She blows up, and when she blows up, and I'll say to my client, I'll look at them and say, if you don't mind, I'll explain what you've said to me. And it's much easier for them to they feel like I can be the bad cop. It's so much easier for them. It's kind of like, like that feeling of like when you're with a best friend and you're doing something and you're like, no, you say it. Yeah. No, you go tell the teacher that.
But it's a matter of perspective too, right? Because often with the first marriage, there might be fights like that they think this is the way it is.
Right.
And someone out of the context go, no, that's not okay.
Right. Right. And that is the case with some of my clients right now. And some are men.
Everybody fights like maybe their parents fought like this. Everybody fights like this. We fight. It's natural, right?
Right.
No, that's not.
No.
Yeah.
And so what I'll say is, as an outsider, with my background, with the courses I've taken, with the things that I've seen with different clients and whatnot, And also, I have so many conversations with attorneys and therapists about their clients, like no names, obviously, but we talk, I know a lot.
Sure.
I know a lot, but not enough to like give legal advice because that's not what I can do, but I can steer it in the right direction. So I know that it's important when I'm with Bill that an attorney or even a financial planner is aware of the fact that Bill is basically in an abusive relationship, right? Mm-hmm. So there's domestic violence. So domestic abuse can be verbal.
Right.
But with the case of Bill, she's pushed him a few times. So when she gets angry, she gets really, really close, which is abusive because you're in someone's space.
It's intimidation.
It's intimidation. Yep. It's harassment, which, as far as I know, is illegal. And they're pushing them against, they're physically, like, it's almost like there's this huge wind that's flowing in between you, and the person's like backing you up against some cupboards.
Yep.
And what I find is that the men, it's just the way the culture is, in their minds, they're like, well, I'm not hitting a woman.
Right.
I'm not pushing my wife.
Right.
But it's almost like what I described to the attorney is the concern that I have is that even though she's a bully and she's abusive, when she finds out that he's even spoken to an attorney, which we're just here to get some information.
Right.
At some point, he is going to have to say to her, this isn't working, and his plan will either be to move out or somehow kick her out.
Right.
But for now, I'm just letting you know that if we hire you, there is abuse, and I'm nervous about it.
Right.
So I want, for the record, for you to know that I'm nervous that it might escalate. It hasn't been enough for him to call the police yet, but I am nervous based on her volatility that this could escalate, and so it's important for...
Well, that's going to mold the interaction between the attorney and the client,
completely,
and it's going to mold the attorney's actions.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I say is, in this particular case, it has to be some, you have to sort of handle your interactions with her future attorney somewhat carefully.
Right. Yep.
But I think it's also important to be watching for an opening to let the other attorney know at some point. You do realize that there have been some incidences, and when a client opens up to me, then I could be a witness because they may need it.
And how many times have you seen the choice of type of attorney is very important, because how many times have you seen an attorney throw gas on the fire?
Right.
In other words, you've got a divorce situation that might be able to come out relatively amicably. Everybody's more or less on the same page, but all of a sudden an attorney barges into the room and throws a threat down on the board, and all gloves are off. And So you want to match your attorney with the tenor of what you want the proceeding to be.
Right. So that's what I'm doing.
Or what you need it to be. Yeah.
So an example is I've told people about the 2 divorce care support groups that I'm running this summer. They actually tumble into September a little bit. But one is in Andover, so it's here in the Merrimack Valley, as a friend of mine likes to say, that Merrimack Valley.
Merrimack.
Yeah. So I just laugh when he does that. Ed the plumber. He's fantastic, by the way.
Ed the plumber.
Yeah, if anybody needs a plumber, he's fantastic.
All right.
He's down in Andover. He works with the Craney company now.
Okay.
So in Merrimack Valley, I'm doing the Andover support group, which is going to be on Thursday nights. And I didn't bring my briefcase today, so I don't have a little thing to hold up, but you wouldn't be able to read it.
JudithJameson.org.
JudithJameson.org.
Yeah.
Contact me directly for information. It's going to be held in Andover Center. It's for men and women, and it's 7 to 9. It starts next week. So not this week, which is 4th of July week, but next Thursday. I think it's the 12th.
Where in the center?
It's at the Free Christian Church.
Okay, yep.
So it's across the street from Palmer's.
Yep.
And it's for men and women, which is great, because we want men and women to hear each other, to not be male bashing or female bashing, or
right.
It's good for people in a hurting place, especially a tumultuous situation, to say not all men stink.
Yeah.
To put it nicely.
Still, it must be kind of interesting when men are in these groups and express some of the same problems that women have been having
Right.
in relationships.
Right. So
Because
what-
you use
true.
the male as a victim of abuse, and we don't think of that all that often. And
Right.
you and I talk about narcissists all the time, and nobody believes they're a female narcissist.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's extremely unlikely that a narcissist will land in divorce care.
Oh yeah.
Right. So what you get is the person that was dumped, the person that was pushed around and bullied for 20 years, the person who's been married for only 5 years and doesn't understand why their husband or wife isn't connecting,
Yep.
isn't contributing, isn't fully into this relationship like they were like during the courtship. They can't put their fingers on it. So out of frustration, they've separated, but they're hurting because it isn't what they wanted. So there are many people who are in there because they don't want this, but their spouse has left. And you can't control another person.
Right.
You can try to reason with them. You can try to get them to come back to the starting point, right? So remember, sometimes I think I've talked about this. If you picture a linear line, picture this as where you are when you're in when the relationship is good. So you've got these two people like this, right?
Yep.
And you're bouncing along, and you go above the line every now and then. If this one stays here, you kind of bounce out a little bit.
Yep.
And other times, like, things aren't going well, and you kind of bounce down. But you're within a range.
Yep.
But for a man or a woman, when their spouse flies up here, and they're completely checked out of the relationship,
It's off
or
the page. Yeah.
yeah, or they're going out every night with, like, a lot of times it's what you see is women will go out to dance clubs. Like, they'll go up to Gloucester, they'll go into Boston, they'll go into Cambridge. I just want to go
Classic
dancing.
Gloucester. Yeah.
Yeah, classic, right? They just want to go out and have fun.
Yep.
They want to, just let off some steam, and they want to feel like their life is exciting again.
Yep.
The problem is, it's one thing to do that every now and then, but when you're doing that on a weekly basis, you're choosing fun, excitement is outside the marriage. You're not.
Right.
It's not like you're also having a fun date with your spouse, or you're going out to dinner with your spouse.
Yeah. That connection's not there between positive and the relationship.
Right. And
That's
so
a problem.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
And so in divorce care, we typically have the spouses that stayed here.
Right.
The only other
Yeah,
thing
holding down the fort.
holding down the fort.
Yeah.
And then we also have spouses who are falling down. Like, I sort of look at the bottom part. So here is like, I look at this part as like out of the relationship,
Yeah.
having fun, but falling below the line is like the energy levels going down. You're depressed because your spouse isn't coming home at 5:30.
Finding it hard to put energy into the relationship. Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things is when you've already gone through your divorce, it doesn't happen overnight. So you're exhausted. You've had these months and maybe years of arguing. Maybe it was over finances. Maybe it was over parenting.
Yeah.
Who gets the kids? When do they get them? Where do they get dropped off?
Yeah, and it's guerrilla warfare
Right.
often. It's day to
guerrilla.
day. It's
Right. So in divorce care, what we often see are people that are just down here. They tried and tried and tried. They tried to keep everything going here, and they slowly were just, downtrodden. They were just like pushed down. Things
Yep.
were rejected. But what I love about the program is I want to remind everybody that it goes for, well, I run my summer programs 11 weeks because you need to start up again at the end of September to get out by like the first week of December.
Right.
And you also have Thanksgiving week. People don't want to meet on Thanksgiving week.
no.
No,
they don't.
Right. Now, that being said, on the Monday night of Thanksgiving week, I always run these Surviving the Holidays one-night programs to help people get through Thanksgiving and to start thinking about how they're going to get through Christmas.
Right.
Because Thanksgiving is like, at the end of the month, it comes and it goes. It can be very stressful. And then you have the holidays. It's like, then you have Christmas and Hanukkah.
Well, it is part of the holidays,
Everything.
and at that point, when
It
the
is.
relationship's strained, these are really tough times.
Very tough times. So in order to fit all that in, it's important to schedule divorce care in the right way. But the Andover one is going to be great because I already know that we have some men and some women pre-registered. And, I give people so much credit for just signing up.
Yep.
But you don't have to pre-register. You
Especially a
can
guy.
just, yeah. But I always get like
Yeah.
35, 40% men. Usually, I hardly ever get one guy.
You know, it makes sense because
Yeah.
guys can't go to guys. Women find support groups all the time,
Right.
but guys, the typical guy reaction from your friends is, let's go out and have some drinks. And, you know,
Right.
and complain about the Red Sox. That's how they deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the Andover group is there are two female in this particular where they've had this off and on. They've offered it there over the years. Sometimes they don't. They haven't had it for a while. Sometimes they'll only do it once a year. But I'm going there to help them, like, relaunch it in the right way, which is at least twice a year, preferably 3.
Yep.
Especially summertime, even if you only have 5 people show up because people are doing things, you're serving 5 people that desperately need this. And not everybody is going to emotionally make it until September when you start up again.
Right.
But the
And the support group is thin in the summer. People are on vacation. They're
So
out.
what?
They're doing things. You
It's
know?
great.
Plus, you don't want to. It's summer. You don't want to go drag a friend into, what you're going through.
Right. But the thing is, it's a small group kind of model, right? So say we had 15 people. If we were, especially it's more typical in the fall or the spring, and also when you become more well known, when people start to hear about this program and you're known for offering that,
Yep.
you're the place to go in the Andover area, then you start to you form some traction, right? So it can take a few years in that particular way, but it goes both ways, because in the summertime, if we only had 5 people, that'd be great, because now you have a small group,
Yep.
and we have 3 leaders, right? So we've got 2 women and a man, and we don't always get 3 people, and we don't always get, like, a man and a woman. So this is going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so pumped for this. And the other thing is, because we have more than one leader, right? Say we got 15. Well, the way that the program works is people come in, you catch up a tiny bit, and then you launch into the video. So each week is its own video. It could be finances.
Yep.
It could be the topic of children. It could be the topic of depression. It could be the one on anger, which is my favorite. I think that's the third. I think that's the second or the third.
That's your
third or
favorite?
fourth. I do it. I like it. Well, because the videos are about 35 minutes long, and they're not portraying, they're real people speaking. So there's therapists, there's counselors, there's actually pastors in there talking about, what a loving relationship looks like and what it doesn't.
Right.
I mean, it's just
And again, you think that's a basic thing, but sometimes people in relationships don't understand. They don't understand they're the victim of anger.
right.
Because again,
Right.
maybe their parental models, well, this is how my parents get along. They
Right.
bickered all the time, and this is how we get along. We've always been that way. Well,
Right.
That's not the way it has to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why the court system has created these anger management programs that they will send a spouse to.
Yeah.
Or
And
ex.
oftentimes
Yeah.
the spouse that's perpetrating the anger, it's kind of the same thing. Well, that's the way my father dealt with my mother. That's,
Right.
yeah.
And I haven't been to the anger management program, but I bet that's what they talk about.
Yeah.
Like, get to the core of it. Like, where did you learn along the way that that's okay, that it's okay to scream at someone,
Right.
that it's okay to yell at someone, it's okay to put fear into someone. The important thing to remember about anger when you try to understand a person that has these, like, anger bursts and stuff, it's usually based on, I feel like I need to be heard.
Yeah.
If they just, when they get upset, when we get really upset about something, it's almost like, it's just a natural, it is a natural reaction to, like, raise our voices and whatnot. But in divorce care, the night, and again, it's the 3rd or 4th night, the 3rd or 4th week when we talk about anger, it really unpacks what's healthy anger, that it's okay to be angry, but then what do you do with it?
Right.
Right? So in our society, we just look at someone and say, cut it out. Like, don't yell at me again. But that's not enough. That's like telling a kid, like, if you're going to teach your child how to do things or that they have to do things, it makes more sense when you take the time to put 3 minutes around it with a context. So, little Billy
Yeah.
doesn't like to make his bed, makes a mess out of the bathroom when they go to brush their teeth, doesn't
Yep.
put the toilet seat down. That's when you start having the tougher conversations. Like, in this house, we don't want to go into the bathroom and see your toothpaste everywhere,
Right.
right? Toothpaste is a little squirt on your toothbrush. You're actually doing yourself no more good with, 2
Right.
inches of toothpaste. You just need a little bit of toothpaste. So taking the time to unpack it, to explain to little Billy, it probably will take 5 weeks, or to say over and over, did you
Yeah.
flush the toilet? Did you flush the toilet? Did you flush the toilet? Oops.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with anger. It's like you've got to remind someone. So like when I'm working with someone in a relationship where they're trying to work on their relationship, they're trying to work on the person that they've been dating for a while that they want to marry, or I'm working with someone that is trying to improve their marriage. If there's anger involved, like right away there are certain things that I do. It's kind of complicated, but I have a whole program that I work with one spouse on.
Yep.
To go back into the marriage with those skills, with those tips, with those exercises that they're going to do, which is primarily preemptive strike and then strike. So, telling them ahead of time, next time you feel like you're about to unload and yell at me, can you please leave the room? Or if it's the summertime, can you please go out the back door?
Yeah.
Walk around a little bit and then come back in. Because really a lot of what it is, anger is a weird thing. Anger is this, when somebody gets really mad, how you say to yourself, I just feel it
Yeah.
when you say I feel it just coming up, it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally triggering all these crazy chemicals in your body.
Right.
And you are feeling something. But it's like anything else. If you were a physicist and you were talking about energy, it has to come out somehow.
Well, you do have the ability to control it.
You know what I mean? Right.
I was talking
Right.
with a woman once, and I was, at that point in my life, I was at the thing, well, you feel what you feel. You can't control that. She
Right.
goes,
You are
"Okay."
mad. You're mad and you're angry.
Well, yeah, but she said, okay, how about this example? You're sitting with your wife at the side of the road with your child,
Yeah.
right? And the child's at your feet, and you're waiting for a light so you can cross.
Okay.
And you're arguing. You're really mad about something. You two are going at it, and you're going at it strong, and all of a sudden you hear tires screech, and you look around, and you don't see your child, right? Do your emotions change? Of course they do. They change instantly. You start focusing on the child. Where's the child? Is it okay?
Right.
That type of thing. Emotions can be changed.
Right.
A lot of people feel, I'm angry. I've got to be angry.
Right.
Well, not necessarily.
Right.
And again, it comes back to my favorite question is what's more important, the issue or the relationship?
Right.
When you're angry at somebody, you've answered the question, the issue is more important than the relationship.
Right.
Because you're making that more important than the other person.
Mm. Well, and the other thing too is, so if you were to ask the angry person or the person that just exploded,
Yeah.
How is that okay? In their minds, what they're going to say too is, I should be able to express when I'm mad. I should express when and it's but you're right. It's okay, but say to yourself,
You can feel your anger.
right, leave the room.
How you react to it is the key. Nobody's trying to take anger away from
Right.
people. You have a
Right.
right to feel your anger. It's how you deal with it.
Right.
It's the action. It's not the emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I have another client, a woman. Actually, she's not a client now. But her divorce was about a year ago. So we worked together for quite a while because she felt like she had been in such a verbally abusive relationship. It took a lot of time to work with her. Now I have her in a women's group that's specifically for women who are in or were in a marriage that was verbally abusive. Because a lot of times people feel like it's not as valid to talk
Right.
about the fact that their husband yelled all the time. But the thing is, you and I know what I'm describing is not just hey, did you buy more paper towels? There's no more here at the sink. I can't believe you didn't buy them. It's not. That's not the conversation. No. And if it's a conversation, that's not how they're saying it.
Right.
It's more, I can't believe it's the accusations. I can't believe you forgot to get the paper towels again.
Yeah.
What next?
You're worthless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of it is you're worthless.
Right. So I mean, what's that expression? You're undressing somebody.
Yep.
Right. You're just bringing them down, and you feel like saying, and it's funny, you feel like saying, if you could calm that person down and have them watch this on a TV show,
Yeah.
they probably would find it offensive.
Mm-hmm.
But in their minds, they're in the middle of this anger with this person that, especially, my biggest pet peeve is when a couple has decided, especially when they have more than one kid, that it's so expensive to put kids into daycare, because it is, that maybe mom should stay home. It could be dad, but I'm going to say dad. I'm going to say mom at this particular time. And when somebody comes home and says, what'd you do all day?
Right.
That is the absolute worst. That makes me angry.
Yeah.
That's like, it's so demeaning, and it's almost like, well, if I could stay home and go to a sandbox and a playground with a kid, I'd love my life. And you feel like saying,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah. Try it.
Try it.
Yeah.
Because even though most of the time, stay-at-home mom may really love it, kids are challenging. 10 hours, 12 hours a day, your job is
Yeah.
you're educating them, you're disciplining them, you're teaching them lessons. You're not just sitting there going, play.
Yeah.
You're
And the
teaching
guy
them
isn't
things.
breaking rocks all day.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right. It's like,
Yeah, he isn't on a chain gang.
Right. So, it's kind of funny because when you watch those old, like Leave It to Beaver and all those shows and the Dick Van Dyke Show,
Yeah.
it's like, really?
Dinner
Like,
with pearls and heels on, and yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
who, and the thing is, we're talking stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
right? So, like, maybe they used to dress like that when they'd go out to the grocery store and things like that. But to actually change and get dressed like that, right?
Yeah.
To present a dinner that, and the way they used to cook, it's like it wasn't just a hamburger. It was like
Yeah.
steak, potato, it was the beans, it was, and they always had dessert. Remember that? Growing up,
Yep.
we always had dessert. In fact, that was a threat. If you don't eat your dinner, you're not getting dessert. Like nowadays, people are like, well,
Oh, and the Dick Van Dyke Show, there's a little coffee tray and some desserts, and yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go watch that. I don't remember that.
Yeah, watch Laura put on a dinner.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Hubby comes on, she's got pearls and heels on. Yeah, because
So,
that's realistic.
yeah, exactly. And, that's kind of funny too. Because
But we undermine, I think your point was we undermine psychological abuse and emotional abuse, and
Right.
and it's just as devastating.
Right. And what's interesting about that is, I had a friend, she came through divorce care, and we would get together for coffee, and we became friendly. And at one point, and I don't really remember how it came up, I should have her come on the show, because her story is just, it's crazy, but she knew this guy,
Yes, we haven't had a
a person,
yeah,
like somebody that's been through a divorce that can come in and talk about
right,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to get one in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get me
good
one of
idea.
those. I'm going to get me one of those broken, divorced people. No, someone that came out of it, but that can talk
two
about.
of them are working the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I actually, I actually know some people that I could get, and so that, in fact, I'm thinking of a guy. Yeah, that maybe I could have on. That, he actually is amicable with his ex-wife, which, I mean, you're amicable.
Yeah,
But he could talk about some of this.
unnaturally so.
Yeah, right? Yeah, yours is kind of unnatural.
Yeah.
His sounds a little bit unnatural too, but I'm sure that there's a story to the breakdown. There's a story to, what were those emotions? Were you feeling any shame? Like, or did you go and tell everybody right away, like, my marriage isn't working? Probably you didn't do that.
Well, it's
People don't do
interesting.
that.
Remember when I was talking about what's more important, the issue of the relationship?
Yeah.
The reason my ex and I are so amicable is because we decided at the very beginning it was going to be the kids. It
Right.
wasn't going to be us.
Right.
And maybe we hid behind the skirt of that, but it calmed things down and made it,
Right.
workable.
And I also think it would be really interesting to talk to someone who's like yourself. You're a few years out of it, and it's amicable. But looking back at like the times where were those differences? Like it can be so much easier, even easier down the road when it's even more removed, right?
Yeah.
So like if you and I had been talking 5 years ago when you guys were talking to attorneys and kind of like going back and forth a little bit,
Yeah.
it kind of stirred things up. So now that things have sort of plateaued, it would be interesting to like talk about like when you
We're not a
look
good
back at
example
it.
because there was a decade of separation before the actual divorce happened. So.
So you'd have to go way back. That's
Yeah.
okay.
So I mean, a lot of times the divorce, the legal procedure of the divorce, is in the firefight. I mean, you're just in it. It's like weeks from whatever blew up the marriage finally to you're in court.
Right.
And we weren't like that, purposely
Right.
so, because we just saw it happening around us. That was part of the thing.
Right.
Not doing this for the next 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the important things that I'm doing with clients is, so listen to that. So I'm listening for, is there verbal abuse? Is there emotional abuse? Is there financial abuse? Like
Yep.
husband or wife controls the money and the other spouse never sees anything. The other spouse says, can I,
That's
feel
control.
Right.
Yeah.
And they feel like it would look like they don't trust them if they said, can I see the checkbook? Can I see the checking
Right.
account? Can I see the savings? Because especially if something's being done online
Right.
and this spouse is controlling all of it, then I never see the online account. Like, I don't know, you moving $100 in and out to pay a bill? I don't care. I just want to know, like,
Yeah.
$100 is going out every month for electricity or whatever.
In a healthy relationship, everyone would want to know everything
Right.
that's going and want their partner to understand what's going on too.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
And-
one person
yeah.
may be paying the bills and
Right.
essentially handling the money, but it's an open book.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it's sort of like, and what I've seen is that the one that's handling the money often is the one that's just making these decisions like, oh, things are going really well, so I'm going to go buy a new Weber grill, or,
Yep.
things are looking well because I'm managing the money, I get it. I'm gonna make a donation to a charity. And it's like, well, first of all, you should be saying to your spouse, things are going really well, we have $10,000 in the bank.
Yeah. What can you do with this? Or what do you need to do with it?
I was thinking maybe we would get a new grill.
Yeah.
And then the other person will probably say, that sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. But it's that weird feeling when not only are you not seeing the finances, but the other person is like doing things with it.
Yeah.
So like, one of my favorites is
It's not coming back into the marriage. It's not
Right.
coming into the life.
Right,
Yeah, the money's
Right.
going somewhere. I don't know where it's going.
right,
It's going somewhere.
right. So I had this friend that had come through divorce care, and we were talking over coffee one time, and I don't even know how it came up, but I said, so basically her husband was just this like emotional roller coaster, and if you ever disagreed with anything, he just couldn't handle it. He'd be like, there we go again. He'd sulk. Sometimes he would leave and go to a hotel for a couple of days. I mean, it was
Really?
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was very dysfunctional. But the thing that was hard for her is she had known him since childhood, but she hadn't dated him in childhood, right?
Yep.
He was just part of like their friends, and she always kind of had a little bit of a crush on him, but she wouldn't have seen all this stuff
Yep.
until she'd been married to him. So this is the other funny thing. I honestly don't remember how it came up, but at one point we were talking and I said, whoa, wait a minute, what? So she says, you're not going to believe this one, Lou, because reminding me of like the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
Now remember, this is in the last like 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So she says to me, I asked her to clarify what I said, what? She said, yeah, apparently when he was growing up, I mean, they're like my age, our age, right?
Yep.
When he was growing up and his family was kind of wealthy, so you can picture like the mansion,
Yep.
they would get super dressed up for dinner. They probably had a maid.
Okay.
They maybe had a cook.
Yep.
They would all get dressed up just like in the movies when they came down to the dining room.
Yep.
So here's a guy that's our age, and he still expects his wife to come to dinner, to sit at dinner. I mean, I don't know if they had filet mignon every night or what, but
Yeah.
the dinner time meant you get dressed up. Now, not just like, don't come to dinner in your cutoff jeans. No.
Right.
This was put on a dress.
Yeah.
And sometimes pearls. And I'm like, so she said, at first I thought it was kind of funny and quirky, but then over time it's kind of like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It would be like the creepy guy that says, I only like it when you wear bright red lipstick. And you'd be like, okay, it's kind of flattering that you like my lipstick today.
Put
But
on the lotion.
right, right. Like weird, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I said,
Like Hannibal Lecter.
right. So I said,
Yeah.
so that's weird, right? She goes, yeah, like, I don't know this, because I know, like, when I go out to dinner, I like to get a little dressed up. But she said, like, he even would buy her dresses.
For dinner dresses. At
Things-
home.
Right. So at first, like, if my husband went out and bought me a dress, I would be so flattered. I would think that is, right? I think that's a wonderful thing when a guy buys somebody a dress. But his purpose was really, go put on the blue polka dot dress.
Yeah, it's control. That's what it is. And it's funny because it's
I mean, it's so weird.
first of all, it's like the old parable about the frog soup, where the frog's in the water and it's increasingly getting hotter, but he doesn't know it because it's happening gradually, and then pretty soon he's boiling. And that's kind of her thing. She started into gradually, and there's a point where a lot of people have rituals around dinner Like, for example, everybody sits at the dinner, put the phones down, and come sit at dinner, and that's great, and that's charming, and it's family
right.
building, and I kind of like it, but...
That's what I do in my meetings
Yeah.
all the time. I'm like, put your phone upside down.
Yeah.
Don't touch it in a meeting.
Yeah. If you give some importance to dinner at home, that's a good thing, but go getting a dress and pearls and...
Right.
No.
No, but here's the best part.
Taking it a little too far.
No, here's the best part.
And by the way, if they both decide, listen, let's get dressed up tonight for dinner.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Fun.
Okay, but it gets better than that. So he had 3 kids, and they were all teenagers. One was like 10. They showed up in ridiculous torn, like the weird,
Yep.
like sexy, overly sexy, hardly
Yeah.
any fabric things that like young girls wear.
Yeah.
So it was okay for them
Rebellion. Oh, okay for that. They got the pass.
because this was
So she had to dress up in front of the kids.
this was a second marriage,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
and it's like, okay, so like it's even creepier that like the kids don't have to like
Yeah.
look decent. Do you think that's creepy? I think that's odd.
Yeah, it's really...
It'd be
it
one
is.
thing if you just really wanted your rich person dinners to look like that, right? Like who knows if they like lit candles or whatever.
What are you teaching these kids? What are you showing these kids?
But then what's funny, because then at one point I'm like, so like when his kids would come to visit, were they all like bringing their frocks? And she goes, that's interesting. She hadn't really thought about it. She goes, it used to annoy me, not that they didn't have to dress up, but that they would wear less than even acceptable. Like, how like young girls will wear these weird sexy tank tops and they're showing, cleavage and just like
No
shorts.
rebellion going on there.
Yeah. Inappropriate shorts that are like technically underwear.
Yeah.
And the boys would be wearing the jeans that are all ripped, and it's like they were.
So they're sitting in a dress. She's sitting in a dress. And yeah. Yeah, no.
So I'm thinking to myself, that's even weirder. I was like, it'd be one thing if he was so bizarrely controlling and regimented that he wanted dinner to be like that, but no, the kids could come like that.
Not to be an amateur psychologist, but it's almost interrelated.
Whoa, what do you mean?
Yeah, has no control over the kids, has control in one area and exercises it. Yeah. You know how people who don't have control over things, they
Yeah.
pick an area where they have control and they're hyper about that control.
That is good.
Yeah.
Right,
Because people out of control are always searching for control somewhere.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had to educate her on, the abuse wheel, which is out there on the
Think
internet.
about it. His second
Yeah.
marriage, he had no control over the first wife.
Maybe.
Lost control of that, lost control of the kids.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Could be. Well, the first wife probably said, screw you.
At a certain point, yeah.
Right,
Certainly.
right.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's a little... Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And what...
you can't win with
Not
that.
that you remember, you've talked about it, but what was it in her background that allowed
I
her
know.
to slip into this role comfortably,
Right.
Because people like me and you would go, what are you out of your mind?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the first time we'd think it was kind of cool, but then after that we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
It stuns me. Maybe it's me.
I know what you're saying. Like, why would you keep going along with that?
It
like-
stuns me that a husband could have a dress code for a wife under any circumstances. I can't imagine telling
Right.
a woman what to wear.
Right.
No, you can't. No. I want you dressed better than that. Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, even like with my husband, like,
It's stunning to me that in 2018 that actually happens.
Right. Like, it's funny because my husband will usually say, I was thinking of wearing this to the wedding. Do you think that's okay? Whatever. I'm like, looks fine. Like,
Yeah.
He actually, asks me
Oh, yeah.
more.
A guy should do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't know anything
Right.
about getting dressed. But
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? The most fun I have with my husband is when I say, does this make me look too fat? Because
You do that, huh?
I do. Only just as a joke. And he's like, you really don't want me to answer that, right? And I'm like, well, now you're making me nervous,
Yeah.
but he gets like so panic stricken. I do that like once a month. It's just for sport because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, oh my gosh, we're never supposed to answer that question. And then he's like, does she really want me to like walk around her and see if she's, so I'm like, I'm just joshing you.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Whoops, there's the thing.
You talk about there's several issues like that you've talked about on
Mm-hmm.
the show where it's like, I can't imagine ever talking to a woman like that.
Right,
It's hard to believe it happens.
right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is I think part of what happens is people have this visual of, it's kind of what I call bending over, compromising.
Yeah. I was just thinking as I said that, I have accepted some
Right?
situations that
You know what I mean?
look in retrospect and going, what the hell was I thinking? You know?
Right. So, a book study that I'm doing right now with a group of women is called Never Go Back.
Never go back.
Right.
Okay.
And in here, last night we were talking about chapters 3 and 4. And chapters 3 and 4, you would love this. Chapters 3 and 4 are you're relearning to train yourself to say to yourself and to your friends, and for your friends to coach you to say this, never again. So you're in this book group, we're really working together to hold each other accountable.
Right.
And to go back to this book when we get into new relationships, not me, but for these women are going through divorce. So I said, statistically, you will be in a relationship down the road. Not too soon, not until I say you're ready, but
Yeah.
so what I love is chapter 3 is never again will I think I can change someone.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4 is never again will I believe that I can please everyone. So I think when we think about some of these stories that sound weird to us, I think that this particular friend of mine is a pleaser, right?
Yes.
So a pleaser is typically, well, if that's what you really want to do, rather than saying, well, can we do both? Or if we do,
Right.
like we were talking about it last night, I said, so an example would be, sometimes my husband just wants to sort of stick around and do gardening, and maybe I want to go to the beach. So I might say, well, how about I'll help you. We'll go buy some really cool plants. We'll work on the rock garden and whatnot. But do you think maybe we could go to the beach this afternoon or that afternoon or the next day?
Right.
So like he could care less about getting a suntan. I just like my feet on the sand.
Yep.
I love the sound of the ocean. The older I get, the more I'm okay with an umbrella.
Yeah.
I don't have to be full on sun for 8 hours. I
Right.
actually don't think that's really good. If the water is bearable in New England for
Yeah.
the 2 weeks that it is, I like to swim in it.
Right.
And he likes going to the beach, but for a different reason. So he's more of an introvert. So he likes to read.
Yep.
He loves to walk on the beach. So that's cool, But if I let him, he would probably work on the garden like all weekend long. He wouldn't necessarily say, "Hey, do you want to go to the beach? Do you want to go to a beach?"
Right.
I usually plan the vacations. So if it's in warm weather, I make sure it's a beach.
Sure.
It's a beach. Like I would never go to Disney World again. That has no
That's been done, yeah.
right. I only went one.
We're all pretty much there.
I've been a couple of times, but
Yeah.
even the first time I wasn't crazy about it. But I went. We had a pretty good time. But after that, I was like, ugh,
Yeah.
So my vacations are almost always beach vacations. Like, if I could have like my perfect vacation, I don't know about you, but like going to the Caribbean or being on an island,
Always enjoyed the Caribbean, yes.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's kind of like people will be like, "Well, you could go to Cape Cod." I'm like, "No, it's not the same."
Oh,
I'm kind of thinking of like
not
a
the
different.
same.
I'm looking for a different culture, different
Yeah.
food, right?
Yep.
And it's ocean water, but it's not the same.
Yeah, no.
And all the islands and things, we just don't have that here. We don't live in other than like Cape Cod has some islands, but
Right.
so
You don't want pine trees, you want palm trees.
right,
Yeah.
right. So I think, if I were a pleaser, I would probably be asking what kinds of vacations, what does he want, and if none of them included the beach, I'd be going along with it.
Right.
So yeah, it's important to look at yourself and say, am I a pleaser? Am I trying to please everyone instead of having a voice?
Is the basic premise
good.
of a pleaser, though, that's how they present worth to the other person. In other words, I'm not worth
Yeah.
the trouble to the other
Right.
person unless
Yeah.
I present value in accommodating them,
Right.
making their lives better, doing what they want to do.
Right.
So that's a self-esteem issue normally.
The other
Or
thing,
did I go too far? Is that painting with too broad a brush?
no, because what's interesting,
It's often that, certainly.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, a pleaser is someone that grew up in a household where they just weren't heard, they weren't validated,
Right.
And so
Had no individual,
Right.
had no base worth.
right.
Yeah.
So if there's 3 kids, and very often parents, one parent will favor a child. A lot of people have grown up in houses where it's like, yeah, she was the favorite, she was the golden girl, or
Yep.
he was the golden boy, he was the one that was good at sports, and the rest of us stunk at it,
Sure. And of course, there's the whole birth order thing.
Right, and the birth order thing. So kids see that, and what happens over time is that smart kids will realize that if they emulate the golden child, if they try to do something that gets the parents' attention, that they too can have favor. And
Create worth.
And right, they're creating worth
Yep.
and value. But the problem is, so like you may not have necessarily have picked baseball, but you'll say to your dad, I'd really like to try baseball. Can you throw a ball with me too? So
Yep.
it gets you time with your dad.
Yep.
That loves baseball.
My
and
dad
doesn't-
loves baseball. If I'm
Right.
good at it, he'll love me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like dad's not gonna like come to my Billy Elliot dance recital, right? Like
Yeah.
dad thinks that guys shouldn't be dancing, and he's not gonna
Right.
support that. And that's just an example. So what happens is these kids put at an early age, pleasers usually have put aside their own desires
Right.
because they see that one or both parents want something different. And that's very often how young adults are formed into doctors. It's very the medical profession is filled with people who didn't really want to be a doctor, and there are many people out there who started med school and quit. That's
Yeah.
a dirty little secret.
'Cause that's what my parents wanted me to do.
Right, right. So a lot of times, a doctor, a dentist, a funeral director, almost always, most of them are family businesses.
Or I'll be more worthwhile to other people if I'm a doctor. Yeah.
Right.
As opposed to what I want to do, sell
Right.
flowers or whatever
Right.
it is. Yeah.
The problem with that is now you've got someone who isn't really working in their gifting, right? They're not in their happy place.
Right.
Maybe they don't even know that. And now just imagine if you married that person. Now you're married to a person, forget the people-pleasing thing. You're married to somebody that it turns out doesn't even really love what they're doing.
Right.
So, like, they may or may not even be that great to be around. And you can't put your finger on it.
Yep.
Because people just assume that if someone's a doctor, they're making pretty good money. It's kind of a cool thing to say you're a doctor. Like, how could you not be happy? How could you not?
Yeah, and to get there to be a doctor, you think you think they have to like it or have wanted to do it, but it may not be the case.
Right. No.
No.
There's a lot of doctors
path
out there.
I was set on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's doctors that feel like, okay, now I'm in a profession, I chose the one that makes a lot of money, like orthopedics. If you do knee replacements, or you do hip replacements, there's a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're standing for 6 to 10 hours replacing a knee.
Yep.
That's a grueling job, and it pays well. How are you going to turn around to your wife and say, yeah, I was thinking maybe I would just be like an eye doctor and do eye exams because it's fascinating to me.
Yeah. I think there's that career plateau. Remember, we've talked about the marriage plateau where a young couple gets together and you're always going somewhere. You're working towards making more money, buying the house, having kids, and then at a certain point in your life,
Get a
you look
dog.
around and you're there. And it's like, this is the next 20 years? I think that happens to doctors and a lot of professions.
Right.
Where you work towards it, you want to build the practice,
Right.
you want to make some money, and then all of a sudden you're there and you got 20 years left to do this. And you go,
It's all about the
"Ooh."
race.
Yeah.
Right. Like to get there. It's like, you know, and the other thing too is remember, like with medicine and, and legal to a certain extent, you're in school constantly, right?
Right.
So you go to undergrad, then you go to, graduate school, you go to med school, you've got internships and things like that. I mean, you can't be a doctor typically at age 20. You've
Right.
got to, you're almost 30 by the time you're done with your residency and your internships and stuff like that. You're interning. And, I can't really imagine it, but it's not uncommon for like doctors to be like, which one can I pick that either makes the most money
Right.
or that's the most interesting? Because to be honest, a lot of medicine isn't that interesting.
Right.
But the smart ones realize, I think, like the ones that say, I'm going to go into research. I'm going to work, because there's so much research going on with medicine. That can be fascinating. But you have to have that sort of rhythmic, scientific way of thinking because it's like doing the same thing to different mice every day.
Yeah.
You have to...
My ex-brother-in-law is a radiologist, and that's the place to go in medicine, radiology.
Yeah, they do really well.
Yeah, just
Right.
test results and,
Right. But there's a method to it, right? Because with the radiology, if you're talking about like radiation for cancer,
No. Just
X-rays and stuff.
looking at just looking at tests, evaluating tests.
Okay.
Not
yeah.
even patient interaction. You talk with the other doctors, and
Wow. Radiologist like looking. Yeah. Right.
here's what's in this X-ray,
Right.
or here's what these test results say.
Yeah. Oh, so
And
he
you
doesn't
don't-
do any procedures or anything?
Nope. Doesn't even rarely interacts with the patient. Doesn't have to deliver any bad news. Doesn't
Huh.
He gives the bad news to the doctor, and the doctor does it.
Oh, he's not a doctor?
He's a doctor, but I mean, he's just looking at. All he does is look at test results.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Wow. Huh. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
Let's see.
I want to make sure I don't go over.
We're a little over, but we can go.
We're a little over.
Yeah, we started a little late, so we're a little over.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, give me the information then for groups coming up, because that's important.
Yeah. So next week, and I'll talk about it again next week, is the Andover support group. And I just want to remind people it's for men and women. It's for people who are separating or you're already separate, and that includes separation in the house. That's important to tell people. So your marriage is at the point where you're not even in the same bedrooms. This is the support group for you because you learn how to navigate through that pain and that part of the marriage. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking maybe you would want to work on it toward the end of the program, we talk about restoration. How do we restore a marriage?
Yep.
What does forgiveness look like? It doesn't mean running right back to the person. But the other thing is you could be separated and living out of the house. Or your spouse. You could be working on a divorce, but a lot of people are separated. They're not working on a divorce.
Yeah.
So if you're separated, but you're thinking, I'm not going to get a divorce, I'm working on this marriage. That's perfect.
Yep.
If you're thinking, I'm separated, I'm definitely out. Definitely, you want this program. But we always have a few people who are out of their marriage, out of the separation, and actually 10 years out. Mm-hmm. Or they are, like I have somebody that's coming to the Andover group who's almost 10 years out of her divorce. But there's a lot of turmoil going on. There's a lot of things going on with the parenting, and there's child support issues, and there's turmoil. So, things aren't easy peasy, right?
People think the divorce is the finish line. You've got young kids. No. It's not the finish line.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you have all this turmoil going on, it's important to remember this is a great program for you. Because people will say, this doesn't apply to me. It's called divorce care.
I'm not getting a divorce.
No,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
No, this program is for during separation or divorce or after.
Yep.
So many times I've had people in their late 60s and in their 70s who have come, and they said, my friends tell me that I'm still angry about, and as soon as somebody starts talking about their ex and it's been 20 years and they're still ranting and raving, they have a problem.
Yep. That
means they're not healed.
Right.
They haven't let it go. They have never had anybody explain to them what forgiveness is. The beauty of forgiveness, in summary, spoiler alert, is releasing your anger so the other person can just live their life and you can live your life. Because as long as you hold on to that anger and you don't forgive somebody, you're the one.
Forgiveness isn't for them. Forgiveness is for you.
Yeah.
Right?
You're the one that has high blood pressure. You're the one that's gaining weight. You're the one that's unhappy. You're the one that's probably not dating well. Right? If you really haven't let it go and you haven't said, you know what? Not my circus, not my monkey.
Right.
Right? If you can't do that and it's been 5, 10, 15, 20 years, then you need divorce care and you need help because it's eating you up somehow. Right?
Yeah, what was the quote? Is holding on to a grudge is like drinking poison trying to hurt somebody else?
Right.
Yeah.
So you're hoping the other person will have a bad life or have, their next relationship will break up. But all it's doing is they don't care.
Yeah.
They're off living with their new girlfriend or boyfriend. So your bad feelings are only affecting your stomach, your gut, your migraines.
Right.
I mean, that's what I get.
You're only hurting yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not good. But
so head to JudithJameson.org. There's all kinds of contact information, scheduling information on there, I would imagine.
Yep.
For divorce care? Yeah.
Well, you know what? I probably have to put it on there. I don't think it's on there.
Okay. Well, contact you.
But they can contact me and just let me know. I've put flyers all around. I'd like to, if anybody's watching and they know they live in a town somewhere in the Merrimack Valley, anywhere, Lowell, I don't care, Chelmsford, People will travel an hour to get to this support group.
Yep.
It's worth it. You know, it's one night a week. We have tea, coffee. Usually I bring seltzers.
Seltzers?
Yep. Sometimes I bring like cookies.
Nice.
So
Like you bring me stuff.
right.
Yeah.
So snacks. So cheers.
All right, and for those of you listening on the net who want to see the show live, we've moved to Tuesdays at 10.
Tuesdays and
So
happy
change
4th
your
of July.
schedule. Happy
Oh my
4th of
God,
July.
oh my
That's right.
God. Happy 4th of July.
Don't mess around, you just got